So here's my question. Who do you guys have? Prime CR7 or Prime RE? Like who do you put on your squad?
Tough question.
In the Premier League, Henri, but overall, like Ronaldo probably. If
Mm,
I'm taking my bias away,
Like we're talking about if we're talking about like stats, there's no question it's Ronaldo. Um
and trophies, to be fair.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But if we're talking about like, the game and like fitting into a system and making players look good and all that jazz, I would say Henry.
okay.
But that's a tough one. Who would you take?
Honestly, like given the fact that I haven't seen too much of Henry, like how you guys have, right? I'd be more biased to just say Ronaldo. Um,
Hmm,
just being completely honest.
okay.
However, off of some of the clips I've seen, right? The highlight reels, the stats, like yeah, I can tell like Henri was quite quite the player. And I think even saying that is like an understatement. Which is then my next question is, well, stats, like just remove the stats, right? In terms of like the elegance, the beauty of the game, who do you pick? Henri or Ronaldo?
Henry.
Hmm.
Like elegance wise, like Ronaldo was pure power. Like I don't think Henry had the same power that Ronaldo has. Easy on the guy, the French style, the French swagger. Like I would say Henry, bias aside, I think Ronaldo was just like pure dominance.
It's a tough one, mate, eh?
That is tough, man. That's really tough. Like eye test, like honestly, also Ronaldo on the eye was really good to watch. And Mehrdad brings up a good point in terms of the way Henry connects with players and brings other players into play. Like he's not only a goal scorer and he's not only direct, but he's also provider. He's an assister. He's got an eye for a pass. He's got an eye for a goal as well. Obviously, he can hold up the play. He can link with others, combine combinations. Like Ronaldo is also, and yeah, I don't know. Like Ronaldo, yeah, Ronaldo Henry has more variety in terms of, like I said, he can play that center forward, try number nine, hold up the ball, get others involved, link into play. He can drift off to the left. Ronaldo's obviously adapted to more of a central player, like as he's gotten older now, like later to his career, and that's because he's lost his yard of pace. But Henry was able to, I guess, be versatile positionally throughout his career, even when he was like younger and in his prime. Like I said, he'll drift to the left, he'll play centrally, hold up the ball, he'll run at you. He'll do a lot of different things. But Ronaldo on the left, he was an exceptional player. Like when he was in his prime and he had his pace and whatnot, like his dribbling ability, he definitely was easy on the eye. Like the eye test showed that this guy is a problem. Like super direct. Like he's got the height. Normally you would attribute players with quick feet, um, to be like the shorter stature, lower center of gravity. But Ronaldo at his height, like I think he's still about like my height, like or like the height that you would normally say is like a center back's height, like a 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", strong build, but he still had quick feet, like he was like Messi's height, and his step overs. Everybody, did the Ronaldo step over when they were younger, because he was just he like trademarked it. His quick feet for his height, um, was amazing. So his ability to do those step overs and shift defenders with his height and his physique and his pace was definitely something to watch. So he was definitely really direct. And just watching him play when he used to run at defenders was something else. But it's so similar between him and Henri in that sense. Like they were both like amazing to watch on the eye for me. Just
Mm,
terrified defenders.
okay, okay. Okay, so last question. What would you say prevented Henri from scoring as many goals as Ronaldo, right? Like or getting on that level, in terms of goal scoring. Um, yeah, what was the difference?
Getting on that level, it's tough to say like mentality because like I did want to say that at first, but at the end of the day, like Henri had the mentality. Like there's elite, like there's different segments of footballers, right? Like there's like, the amateur footballers and like, players, just natural random players like ourselves who don't get to aren't fortunate enough to play professional football. But even amongst professional footballers, there's still different tiers in terms of mentality. Like there's the elites, like the Ronaldos and the Messis,
Mm,
Zidane, Ronaldo number 9, Henri. Like there's goats of the game, and then there's like another pool of all the other professional footballers. Like your average Joe professional footballer, let's say in the Premier League, they're all have mentality because that's why they made it to where they're at. Like if they play professionally, they earn the wages they do because they have a certain level of mentality. But as I said, even amongst that core, there's still tiers above, which I said, like the goats of the game. Kind of the way you used to play FIFA when you used to separate like levels of like there's like amateur, there was professional, there was world class, there was legendary. In
mm,
terms of like the level that you chose to compete at, like that's kind of similar. I feel like at the professional level as well. Even amongst all the professional ballers, there's tiers. There's levels to this thing. And so Henri and Ronaldo, like Henri and Ronaldo are in a similar tier in terms of goats of the game. But so it would have been tough for me to actually say mentality because clearly Henri had the mentality. Like he carried that prime Arsenal team at times, Invincibles and so on. Like he was a leader of that team, and he should have easily gotten a Ballon d'Or as well, in my opinion. So like you're kind of it's apples and oranges at that point. Like they both had the mentality, they both scored an abundance of goals, but Ronaldo, I think Ronaldo's is driven and still to this day driven by goal scoring. Like he just sees red, like he sees the net and boom, it's in the back of the net. Like I said, where Henri had more variation, like he would also assist and he would also provide. Maybe he didn't have, and this might be harsh to say on the guy because he still scored so many goals and broke so many records, but maybe his hunger for goal isn't the same as Ronaldo's. Ronaldo's level of just being desperately hungry to score. And I think that goes for Ronaldo over anyone else in the game. Like I've never seen anyone have the hunger that Ronaldo has in terms of
really?
wanting to score goals. Yeah, yeah, like Ronaldo's hunger for, and that's why he's breaking broken goal scoring records because he just, some would call him selfish at times. Like even at Real Madrid when he had Benzema and Bale playing alongside him, like you get mad at those guys for not making the pass because he wants the goal. Like his just level for his hunger for scoring goals, I think surpasses anyone in the game. And so Henri maybe could have got to that level if he was more of a selfish player. And it's not to like knock Ronaldo in that sense, but Ronaldo is just super driven and hungry to score goals. That's all he wants to do. So
Mm,
I think that's what it is too. Like Henri would have to have that little bit more of a selfish mentality. Like I'm that guy that I'm going to score all the goals regardless of who I'm playing alongside. Ronaldo didn't care that he played along other Galacticos. Like it was still he just give me the ball. I'm the main guy. Where I think Henri was a little bit more unselfish.
mm, okay. Mehrdad.
I mean, there isn't really much else to add to that. I also think maybe like the system and
Mm,
maybe some of the like Henri was around like really, really good players, but I think there's something to be said about the teams that Ronaldo was around and the players that he had around him. Um, but I think it just comes back to like the selfishness. When you get to that top 1% of players, it's like the tiny edges, the tiny, you know, like the ticks. And I think Ronaldo had that tick a little bit more than Henri. Um, and that's what, separates the two. I think if Henri had the same, drive for goal scoring and being selfish, I think he could have easily matched because he was so
mm.
skilled. But I don't think he had that, you know, that like little extra push.
Okay, so I got a follow-up question. The only reason why I have a follow-up question is given the answers that you guys have given me, right? Is that a good thing? That selfishness that you guys talk about, right? As a striker.
As a
Yeah,
striker,
yeah,
100%.
really. So you're
Um,
saying like if let's say you're a coach, right? And you're looking for players. You want that player, that Ronaldo, like selfish, he doesn't give a
as a striker, you're saying?
yes, as a striker.
Yes, 100%. I don't want to see
Mm,
my striker like when they're in the box or just outside the box looking for a pass. That's what we harp on Havertz all the time. Like, take a shot, go for it.
no, but the ordinary strikers take a shot, they go for it. But what you guys just described is something completely different. Like at least from what I understand, right?
If I want a killer forward, like
Mm-hmm.
what did we talk about for the last couple episodes about Arsenal's attack?
Mm,
There's no killer instinct. They're always looking for like the pass, going backwards, the flare, the this, the that. Just put your foot into the ground and shoot. Just shoot. You don't like. We're not playing like prime Barca tiki taka that you're gonna fucking roll the ball in. Just shoot the damn ball.
Mm,
And yes, that's what I want. What is everyone praising about Wanyeri? He takes the ball and he's taking you on, right? And he's trying to create something. He's trying to be selfish. He's not just looking on the wing. Oh, I got the ball. Let me look around, dribble, and then let me pass back. He's looking like, okay, can I dribble past my guy and cross it in and make something out of nothing? That's what we're missing in Saka, right? That's what you're looking at Salah. He gets the ball. He's not looking to turn back. He's looking to see, is there an open space for me to exploit? If there is, yeah, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to take it,
mm.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, this is
100%. As a
this.
forward, I want
Mm,
you to be selfish. I want you to take that shot.
okay, okay. I mean, this is super okay. And now I need your opinions because you guys have played with games, soccer games, like even other sports, right? If you had a player like that on your team, how would you like? Would you feel good playing with someone like that? Like, honest opinion, like the guy is like, if you were to take a shot and you miss, he'd be cheesed because you didn't pass to him, and he thinks I would have scored that had you passed to me. You know what I mean? Like, and even with you remember that with Nani, on Portugal, I think Nani Ronaldo shot it. Nani, I think touched it or something like that. Was offside. Ronaldo was fuming, like like that kind of like passion and like selfishness and drive to be the only goal scorer, really. So like yeah, like how would you guys feel playing with a player like that?
Like if you're talking about the Ronaldo in Portugal and like Madrid and like Manchester United before when he first broke into the league and like some parts of Juve, the fact that he had that work rate, like if the player that's on my team had the same work rate, that like you track back, try to pick up the ball and like drive, sure. But if you're like the Ronaldo when he came to Manchester United, would constantly walk, would like not do anything. Yeah, no, I wouldn't want that. Like if you get like for example, like why do Liverpool fans love Nunez? Because he has that work rate, whether he's missing like the craziest chances, he runs back, he tracks back, he does the dirty work. He makes those runs time and time and time again.
Hmm.
He doesn't give up. That's why Arne Slot kind of took a dig at him, saying like that miss against Villa, like he just wasn't the same. Um, so if I have a player on my team that's like that, that's like constantly running and making those plays and gets angry at me for take having to go at it, like sure, whatever. Because I know that like his work rate is there and he's the forward. Like I
Mm,
want that out of my forward. I don't know, CJ, if
okay.
am I wrong? Am I reaching?
No, honestly, like you're on point. Like I think personally, the thing is, when you play with a player like I'm gonna use Ronaldo and Salah as examples. Like those two players are deemed selfish, but it's almost justified when they're carrying the team and they're putting up the numbers that they do. So if I'm playing with a player who's like a Mo Salah or a Ronaldo, there's only so much I'm gonna get mad at them for not passing because I mean, it's shit. At the end of the day, I can't say much. In Mo Salah's case, you're the reason why we're probably top of the league anyways. So without you, we're not top of the league, and essentially without Mo Salah, I may not be a Premier League champion in a sense. If I'm again a Darwin Nunez or I'm Cody Gakpo. Maybe Cody Gakpo is not as good of an example because he has been contributing, but Darwin Nunez is like a good example. If I'm a player like him and I'm playing with Mo Salah and we're both on a break and Salah doesn't pass me the ball, even though I'm more in a more open position, how much of a right do I have to get mad at him? Because again, he's the one that's carried us to this point. Like he is who he is. He's Mo Salah. He's Cristiano Ronaldo. Like I can't give them shit for not playing me in because more often than not they're going to take their chance and they're probably going to score.
Yeah.
Um, on the other side of the coin, if I'm a Darwin Nunez and I'm in on goal and I don't make that pass to Salah, I'm going to hear from it. I'm going to hear from a Salah or I'm going to hear from Ronaldo because I probably should have passed him the ball because their conversion rate is better than mine and so on and so forth. Like it is tough. Like it's not an easy situation. And obviously like players like Benzema, they say he got better once Ronaldo left. I'm sure you guys have seen it as well. Like Benzema's game has elevated yes, he's gotten, better with age. They call him like, he's been aging like fine wine after that period where Ronaldo left. But when Ronaldo was there playing with Benzema, it was tough for him because Benzema couldn't get the goals and he couldn't be the main man in the same way he was when Ronaldo left because Ronaldo was there. Ronaldo's there. He's the guy. Like ultimately, in the best position, you should be giving Ronaldo that ball. You should be giving Mo Salah that ball more often than not. So as a player, it's difficult, but at the end of the day, a player like myself, like I would be humble enough to understand, like, okay, I can't uh, get mad. I can't be as frustrated as I think I would be or I should be because of the player that I'm playing alongside. At the end of the day, he may be elevating my game, or I'm learning off of him based on the things that he's doing that I could be doing better. He's maybe showing me, me watching him, you know, I can learn off of him and I can learn his finishing techniques and I can learn about his drive and his mentality as a teammate. So I would look at it as more like a positive outlook on what drives him and what pushes him to be the player that he is, even though I'm his teammate. I'm not going to necessarily treat it like woe is me and be all down bad about it. And I might look at it as a positive thing and say I want to get to your level. Like Laurent, me and you talked about this similarly with like the league that we're playing in. When you have a player who's has the experience, who's more experienced than you, and has played at a higher level than you, is giving you shit on the field. Like that should fuel you more than it would go the opposite way. Where it causes a rift in the dressing room and like you're all upset about it and moping around about it. Like, no, man, I think like, it's definitely good to have that mentality of, what happens, first of all, on the field, is what happens on the field stays on the field. It's nothing personal. It's everyone's got that drive to want to be better and do better. So your teammates may expect more from you and whatnot. So I think, yeah, you just got to look at it in a positive light, and, obviously it's the other side of the coin is if you're playing with a player who's shit, essentially, and they're giving you shit, it's like, no, I'm not taking that. Like no chance am I taking that from you. But Ronaldo, Mo Salah, you want to talk to me? Like, all right, I'll respect it because you are who you are, and you help elevate your team to get where they are because of that. So it's one of those ones.
Okay, okay. So this is for all the young footballers at home listening to this, tuning in. You got license to kill so long as you can produce.
Yes,
That's
sir.
yeah, yeah, really. So if your coach is giving you lip, just put that ball in the back of the net, and then yeah, he'll make sure to not put you in the next game, not sub you off. So yeah.
Sir.
All right. Let's get the show
Oh, well,
started.
yeah,
Good
well,
opening
welcome
statement.
back. Welcome back. Episode 5. As always, joined by my co-host Laurent and CJ.
Yo, yo.
Um, Today we're gonna kind of look at the PSV breakdown. We're gonna do a little bit of an analysis on what our thoughts on the current Arsenal lineup and how we can potentially come up with some solutions. And then just quickly touching in on the FA Cup madness. There's a couple big games, a couple controversial incidences, and just touching a little bit on some of the European games from the weekend. Not all of them, but some of the big hitters, especially the ones that have Champions League games. Um, and then getting into our predictions towards the end of the show. So let's kick it off with the FA Cup. Um, Couple of big matchups. Um, a couple FA Cup matchups. Premier League matchups. And then let's start off with Villa. Again, breeze by Cardiff City. Um, the big talking point in this game is Asensio and Rashford.
Doing
Um,
bits.
obviously we understand with having Neto, the keeper, and not Pedro Neto. Talking about the keeper Neto from Bournemouth. Cup tied. Keep that in mind. Cup tied keeper that we got on loan. We couldn't loan another Premier League player, but it really makes you wonder why Arsenal wouldn't go for Asensio. You know, do I think he's a center forward? Absolutely not. Do I think that he can play off the right or the left or give us a different option? Or yeah, he still played for Madrid. He's still a quality player. Uh, I don't know, CJ. Like, doesn't that make you wonder? Like even Daniel Mallin for Villa. Like you're saying we couldn't get someone like that?
100%, man. It's just it's what we chose not to do. It's as simple as that. We chose not to do it. You think Asensio wouldn't have been offered to a club like Arsenal before Villa? Like, come on, you know. Same with Tell even. Tell's whole thing was that Mateus Tell, sorry, that went
Mhm.
to Spurs on loan. His whole thing was that he wanted playing time, right? Like Bayern, it would make sense for Bayern to have let a 19-year-old go without guarantees of playing time because he's a young player, he needs to develop and so on. He'd be playing so much in this Arsenal team right now. Like
Yeah.
he would have chosen Arsenal over Spurs. I'm sorry, any day of the week. Asensio same over Villa. With all due respect to those clubs, they're choosing Arsenal every day of the week over where they're at now. Now the big thing about that is playing time, right? Like they want assurance of the playing time, and with Tell, we could have told him, we could have pretty much almost guaranteed him playing time under our current circumstances. And honestly, the same thing with Asensio. He can play down the right, left, or through the middle. Asensio is the one for me more than a Rashford, more than whoever else. Like Asensio is the one that we missed out on. Like that's experience at the end of the day. That's a Real Madrid player. He's won championships and he's won cups with Real Madrid. That one, if we're going to do a dry loan and we're going to talk about again saving our money, keeping our powder dry, the Asensio one would have been the one that made the most sense for me. And
Yeah.
how we let that guy go and go to Villa is insane.
Baffling. Baffling. Um, Crystal Palace, another win. They continue their hot streak and beat Millwall 3-1. The real big talking point, well, kind of two talking points. One, Eddie Nketiah scored again. I believe that's 2 goals in 2 games. Good for him. Good for him finally putting the ball in the back of the net. The real big talking point is Mateta, that challenge. If you haven't seen it, he got kicked in the head from different angles. The initial kick didn't maybe fully connect the way that it did. Then maybe on the landing it hit him in the head, and he was hospitalized. Like he was taken off on a stretcher. And then some of the away fans from Millwall were heard chanting, and this is again allegedly. They were allegedly heard chanting "Let him die," which is really not what you want to see. No, like supporting your team and all, like these are humans, these are players. You want them going home to their families afterwards. It was a little bit of a classless moment, and again, it's allegedly that some of the fans were saying that. um but the other talking point, I guess there's three talking points. How Michael Oliver, Mr. Michael Oliver, didn't see this in real time. Mr. Michael Oliver, the favorite referee. um Shambolic. Shambolic.
Because of joke.
Yeah.
Disgrace.
He's he's got that Saudi money, sorry, not Saudi money. He's got that Manchester City money covering his eyes and everything.
They call him
Um
the best referee, one of the best referees in the country. And if that's the standard, if that's the best referee in the country for our league, then we're in big trouble.
yeah.
Real talk.
Oh
We're
man.
in big trouble, though.
Um, Preston North End, last championship team. They beat Burnley 3-0. Tough loss for Burnley. I think they're sitting third in the championship. Look like they're poised to come back, but Preston dismantled them 3-0. Um, Bournemouth beat Wolves on penalties, but wow, Mateus Cunha, if you have not seen his goal from outside the box, wow. Obviously the red card that he got for clashing with Kirkez, I think it was in extra time, but wow, Mateus Cunha, like a- again, another one of those players that makes you wonder. He can play across the front three, makes you wonder why not? You're talking about a relegation battling Wolves, and you're saying it's difficult for us to get him. Why? It's a Wolves. Again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to any Wolves listener, to anyone that wants to clip this, send to Wolves. Like, let's be real now. Like, we're talking about Wolves. We're not talking about a couple years ago when we were fighting Wolves for top six. We're talking about like a relegation battle, Wolves. Um, but wow, Cunha's goal. I don't know. Did you guys get a chance to see the goal on the highlights or anything? Like outside the box, just took the ball and he's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna shoot. Like we were talking about at the beginning of the pod. Like even if he missed, the fact if he was on Arsenal and he did something like that, I'd be like, good on you, bro. Like take the
Mm.
ball and just You never know. What if there's a deflection? What if there's a corner because we're a corner FC? Just
Hmm.
shoot the damn ball.
You know,
What a player, man. What a
He's
player.
Brazil's
it's
got. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say it's funny though, because I know sometimes like, especially when you look at like football from yesteryears, right, compared to today, it's like the long shots are pretty much dead from
Hmm.
Hmm.
outside the box. Like it's
Great
everyone's
point.
trying to like walk it in, right? Thanks to Pep and friends, right? Walk it in into the 18, and then like a tap in or right a sure goal like that. But that whole like striking it from long range, we don't see that. So when I see that players are hesitant, honestly, I'm not surprised because sometimes I feel like maybe the managers, right, or the system, it doesn't allow like they're told, yeah, just extra pass, right? So it's like as a player, especially if you're afraid of repercussions, right? Or if I shoot this, right, uh, coach is gonna right look at me a certain way, or if I miss, then now it's like shit. Like nah, he might sub me off kind of thing. It's like
Yeah.
yeah, maybe they might be hesitant to take that shot, right? Um,
It's all the
so
analytics. It's all the analytics that's coming into the sports.
mm,
Quick baseball reference for those baseball fans, like Moneyball, the
mm,
Oakland A's, where they brought the analytics and they had like the lowest pay, the salary and the wages, and then all of a sudden they're like one of the best teams. It's the same thing. They're probably getting drilled with analytics, like, oh, if you take the shot from here, if you pass it
right.
here, and that's probably going through their mind. Where sometimes like it doesn't matter about the analytics. It just comes down to like pure skill. Like
Mm,
Cunha's shot and goal was just individual brilliance.
right.
Um, but again, the real talking point is again Arsenal. Like why? Why letting 60 mil? Okay, we're not pressed for money. The financial just came out. But he did lose his head. I will say he did lose his head, and he like I wouldn't say punched, but like he pushed Kirkez, and that's the part that maybe that was one of the reasons why Arteta didn't want him. They talked about that when we were chasing Ivan Toney, right? Like a lot that came out is like, is he the right personality? Is he the character? Sure. Uh,
I think we're trying to be too cute with that at the moment with Arsenal. Like if all that is true, because I've heard that, like you said, I've heard that about certain characters, like
Start with Obama Yang, Ozil,
Aubameyang. Yeah, like
Guendouzi.
like again, the game is changing, man. Maybe we're just too old school in our mentalities, but like yeah, I've heard that all the time too. Like late with Arteta and him wanting to manage characters and players with too much character and ego and personality that might be an issue in like the Aubameyangs of the world or Ivan Toney and Cunha. But like you have to have a little bit of that man in the game. Like you need a little bit of seasoning and a little bit of spice on these players. Like a little bit of attitude, a little bit of vava voom.
A little
Like
bit
bro,
of
like
fuck it. A little bit of fuck it. Let's say
bro,
it for like a little bit of fuck it. Like get the fuck out of my way. Give me the ball and let me go. You know?
Mm,
Like you need that
I don't know, man.
spice.
Like in the golden era of Arsenal and the Invincibles, we had players like Henri who had an attitude issue in training. I'm hearing he used to have bust ups with players in training all the time because he demanded a lot. Patrick Vieira, how many times did he get sent off in his career? Are we going to say we didn't want Patrick Vieira on our side because he gets stuck in and gets into people's faces and he gets sent off? Like, come on, man. You got
mm,
to have some of these players with some personality. Like, Aubameyang the same. Like, Aubameyang definitely wasn't a yes man. He had a little bit of disciplinary issues. But are we gonna we need that personality because he scores goals. He's doing the backflips. He's bringing out the masks. He comes to training and he turns up in his gold Lambos. Like that's swaggy. He's got a little bit of personality. I don't have a problem with that as long as they're doing it on the pitch. Wayne Rooney and these guys were doing all kinds of madness off the pitch. I'm hearing rumors about how Rooney was out here in the hotels like shagging these grannies. Like the man was a savage. Like these guys did their thing off the pitch.
Rudy.
You know,
Rooney!
do you guys remember that celebration that Rooney did after he scored a goal and and then
Yeah.
he like dropped? Do you remember that because he got into something off the pitch? Like it was a little bit. I don't know if something happened in like a bar or I think he got into off the
Mm,
pitch. But
Mm,
you remember that game? I remember he scored, and then his celly is like, and
yeah.
he just falls back like as if like just to kind of have a little bit of a dig at the media. And it's like but players like Ferguson, Wenger, like those big managers manage those personalities because you have to be able to know how to manage some personalities sometimes. Those sort of big characters. So honestly, I don't want a bunch of nice yes men who are just gonna you know suck up to the manager and all that. Man, you need a little bit of spice and a little bit of discipline. And yeah, Cunha gets sent off here and there, and he's got a little bit of an attitude on the pitch and stuff. But I think it's worth the sacrifice when you get a player of that quality scoring the
Yep.
goals that he's scoring.
I think on the Aubameyang thing, I just want to go on a quick tangent. Um, I think Arteta actually messed up giving him the captaincy because he was not. I don't think he's captain material. I think he's just such a like, and I don't want to sound too like he's like the only way I can describe he's like a free soul. He just wants to do his thing. He wants to have that flair. He's not one to like lead men, if you know what I mean. Like he's a good soldier. He might even be a good commander, but I don't think he's a leader. He's not
I
gonna
understand what
he's
you're
not
saying.
gonna get he's not gonna take someone under their wing to be like, hey, let me show you the ropes, right? He'll show by he'll lead by example, but he's not gonna take you under your wing. And to be the captain of Arsenal Football Club, like you kind of have to have that. And I think Arteta maybe because of his coaching inexperience or managerial inexperience, he didn't know how to manage that personality. And two, like
Mm.
he gave the captaincy too early. That's from one side. The devil's advocate side, obviously, some fans will be like, well, he gave it to him because he wanted him to stay and yada yada. I think Aubameyang would have stayed either way. His best friend Lacazette was there. He loved London. He was always out partying. He was close to his parents, who was in France. His family loved being in and around London. So I think that was a little bit on Arteta, because I think if we were able to keep Aubameyang for a couple more years, I think it would have been a very good transition because he still has his pace. May not be as clinical as he was during the Dortmund days when we initially got him, but he's got that itch. He's got that, like he smells that danger and he knows where to pop up. Um, so it's yeah. Man City. They take down the Giants, Plymouth Argyle. I guess for all you Liverpool fans, I guess beating Plymouth is not for everyone. Um,
Jeez,
Mm,
you know,
jeez.
so Man City, top four. I want to say top four is secured for them. So they're gonna try to save their season with the FA Cup. Um, yeah, it was a little hairy. I'm not gonna lie. It was when I was watching the game, it was a little bit hairy for them, but hey, they saved it. Um, Danny Welbeck, St. James Park. That was probably the craziest game of the weekend. There was two red cards. There was VAR controversy. With I don't even understand. Like we can talk about VAR for a sec. I don't understand how VAR constantly tries to take away goals. Like if it's a clear and obvious offside, like, and I don't want to hear anyone being like, "Oh, well, he was technically like a centimeter." No, 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 no. A centimeter isn't going to give you the edge. Obviously, if you slow everything down, someone's going to be offside. But did that centimeter truly give Fabian Schär the advantage of scoring the goal? No. If he's like a full body part, like a full leg, sure. But like, why are you taking goals away? It was the dumbest call I've ever seen in my life. Um, and you see it all the time. As soon as a goal gets scored, like all the players, they turn around, they look at the ref, and then they celebrate, and then they look at the match official. They're like, and then as soon as he looks down at his watch, everyone just stops celebrating. Like that just takes away from the game, you know? Ange Postecoglou said he loved it. He loved it going to a stadium that did not have VAR because he's like, look, if we lose, I'm fine with it. We're not gonna have any like, do I celebrate? Do I not celebrate? Like VAR
mm,
came in to help the game, but all it's
mm.
doing is just taking the excitement out of it. You have to like semi-celebrate, looking at the big screen, being like, was this off? Like, no, bro. If I'm gonna celebrate, I just want to celebrate. Like, it was, yeah. But Danny Welbeck, another Arsenal man, the way he chipped Dubravka falling over, that was just makes you wonder, like, why Brighton is able to beat Newcastle
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
Arsenal.
There's
Like,
a different energy when Newcastle plays Arsenal, man. I don't know. There's like a little bit of a hatred thing brewing there. Like they don't like us. We clearly don't like
mm,
them. They turn up different when they play us. I feel like, but yeah, I don't know. At this moment in time, I don't like them. I saw fans like some Arsenal fans on some other fan channels saying, congratulations to Newcastle for getting to the cup final. Hope they win it. Me, I'm the opposite. Screw Newcastle. I don't like them. Because they're some of their players you know, have been, let's say, scumbags to say the least against us. Like you're Kieran Trippier's, Bruno Guimaraes when he literally tried to assault Jorginho.
yeah,
Like a couple of
and got
yeah,
away with it.
yeah. A couple of their players, like yeah, like they get chippy with us. Their managers talk some shit. They clearly have a little bit of thing with us. So yeah, no, I don't like Newcastle. I don't want them to win. I prefer Liverpool to win that cup final. Much more of a respectable club, and yeah,
But
good
it
on
makes you wonder, like, VAR is taking away goals, which by the letter of the law, sure, it's an obvious mistake. But then also by the letter of the law, if there's intention to hurt another player, that's a straight red. When
I don't
that
know
George
how.
when that
Yeah, I don't know how
Jorginho thing
they didn't
happened,
get.
they said, "Oh, it wasn't malicious intent." Hold on. If
The
I'm
man
running
full on tried
past
to
you,
clothesline him.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I'm running past you and I go from here, my arms being by my side, to my arm coming here and brushing your face, like malicious intent? What are you talking about? Who runs like this? A fucking giraffe? Like a T-Rex, like running like this? Like what is that? Like, and then you got like Fabian Chairs again. I don't really give a shit. I hate Newcastle as well, but like that was a goal. I forgot what the Brighton defender who was his butt was apparently like on the last line, but then Char's like shoulder was ahead. Like really, his shoulder gave him the advantage to score the goal. I don't know. CJ, for your boys, Manchester United,
See
the the reigning FA Cup champions, lose to Fulham in penalties. Um,
you later.
hold that. Hold that. Um,
That was his last chance, in my
yep.
opinion. Ruben Amorim to like
What do
salvage
you mean?
some
Whoa,
of
whoa,
the.
whoa, what do you mean last chance? They're still in a relegation battle, my friend. Still in a relegation
Ah,
battle.
nah,
Um,
nah, nah.
no, but all seriousness, real talking point. Did you guys see Wayne Rooney's comments to Amarin?
I
No,
heard about that beef. What did he say?
He said so. Amarin was talking about like Manchester United's like long-term goals of winning the Premier League, blah 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 blah. And Wayne Rooney essentially said like instead of him thinking about long-term goals, he needs to be focused on like the short-term goals. And it's a little bit naive of him talking about like Manchester United winning the Premier League. And then Amarin clapped back in his presser. He's like, you know, I'm not naive. At 40, I'm coaching Manchester United, so I'm not naive. Like Wayne Rooney had an unbelievable playing career. There's no doubts about that. But brother, Wayne Rooney, talking to you. You're the same age as Ronaldo, and you look at least 15 years older than Ronaldo. Okay? That hair transplant clearly ain't working.
Jeez.
Um, and second of all, my friend, you're the worst coach. You've been fired from how many clubs now?
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
How many clubs have you been fired? And you're talking smack to Ruben Amorim? Come on, bro. I don't know. Am I wrong in this? Like, tell me if I'm wrong. Like, I'll put my hand up.
The only thing that gives him the credibility is because he's a club legend. So more often than not, club legends, they got a rite of
No,
passage.
screw that. Screw that club.
They're not,
You're trying to argue
Hold on. Let
Lampard
me
managing
hold on.
Chelsea?
Hold that
Nah,
thought,
man.
Laurent. Hold
Like
that thought. This is his
club legends.
managerial record. Let me tell you his because we have a club legend who was also a manager.
Yeah.
Sometimes when Jamie Carragher talks shit, I'm like, okay, You don't really have any other stats. Like you never won anything, so whatever. But you're not a manager. When Gary Neville says
Hmm.
something, I'm like, Neville, you were a shit manager. But this is Wayne Rooney's stats. Derby County, 24 wins, 22 draws, 39 losses. In 85 games, his win percentage was 28%. DC United, 14 wins, 26 losses in 53 games, 25.9% win rate. Birmingham City, 15 games, 2 wins, 4 draws, 9 losses, 13% win rate. 13. Okay. Amarin, let's see. Ruben Amarin. Like, like with those stats, like, how,
See, this
how
is why I wouldn't want Henri managing Arsenal because all due respect to Henri the player, but he's not a great manager either, and I would
Oh,
not want the
wait,
fans
Henri has
running.
managed teams?
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was even in the MLS. Montreal Impact didn't
Yeah.
do so great over there.
Hmm.
Ruben
Um,
Amarin, 68.91 win percentage. Career.
yeah. See, Amarin better be careful because here's my thing. Like I said, Rooney he's got a point because he knows what it takes. He's been at the club. He's a club legend. Whatever. So he's got a right to say something, in my opinion. It's true, bro. The rate that Amarin is at, he may not even be around for the long term. So he's talking about long term with Man United. He might be long term at Cardiff City or back in Portugal or something. The way he's going, because, geez, man, is this one of the worst starts to a new coaching? A coach at a new club that we've seen it for a big club. Like he started so poorly. It's not been good for him. Um, so I have a quick point though on that, like about the coaching thing, and not just coaches but club legends speaking on about their club. I think Rooney has a right to talk, as I said, because he's a legend of the club, so he has good insight into what the way the club should be run and what he thinks is going right versus what's going wrong. And I see Arsenal fans kind of doing the same thing whenever like Henri speaks up about demanding higher standards. Mehrdad, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, Henri spoke about him not being impressed about the Arsenal that he's watching nowadays. And I think this was even before Arteta was a coach. I don't know if Arteta was a coach at the time, for it was Emery, but Xhaka was captain. And Henri said when he saw that and he was seeing Granit Xhaka lead that Arsenal team out as the captain, he turned off the TV because he's like, Laurent, because he said, this is not what Arsenal is. This is not what Arsenal's about. We should have a higher standard of player. We should have a higher standard of captain and a higher caliber generally. So he was not impressed at that time seeing like players like Xhaka with the armband. And Henri's recently spoken about some things that he didn't agree with and what he's not liking about the club. And he's gone against some of what Arteta's said or done. And to the point where in press conferences, Arteta has been asked about Henri's comments previously, and so on and so forth. And so I've heard fans, those the biggest Arteta sexuals out there who live and die by Arteta, they will turn on Henri in favor of Arteta, and they say, oh, how dare Henri call out the club, or how dare Henri say this, that, and the third against the club. Like, first of all, guys, don't be dissing our club legend. He's probably the main reason y'all support Arsenal to begin with. So if Henri, it's one of those ones. If Henri speaks, you listen. Maybe I'm biased because that's my guy, but players like him, Rooney, when it comes to United, those players have a right to speak on what they're seeing at the club and what they like and what they don't like. Because again, like these guys have been there, done that. Honestly, Ronaldo to a certain extent too, and this is maybe taking it a little bit too far because Ronaldo was still a current player at United at the time. But we saw the interview that Ronaldo did with what's his face, Morgan, Piers Morgan, right? Right before he left, when Ten Hag was still involved, and Ronaldo was calling out everything at the club and said, since I've returned to this club, the training ground has stayed the same. The stadium is falling apart. There's been no improvement in the club from when I left to the time I've come back. This is Ronaldo speaking. One of those ones again where Ronaldo talks, you listen. Like Ronaldo is saying that the standards are not good enough at United, and again, Ronaldo may not have had a place to talk at that time because he was still an active current player. It's not like he's a former player coming back, but he's an active player in the club speaking out on what he doesn't like about what's going on in the club. And so is he right? Is he wrong? I think, maybe because he's an active player, he might not have been right at the time to say it, but what he was actually saying in substance was not wrong. When a player of that stature talks about demanding more of your club and you've been a club legend for that club, I think, The manager, the club as a whole, the board, the fans, everyone has a right to listen to when your club legend talks and speaks about demanding more and demanding higher standard. You know. So, anyways, it comes back full circle to the whole was Rooney out of turn to talk about Amram in that sense, but yeah, man, sometimes it's difficult to have those club legends come and talk and speak on the club or even coach at the club. Laurent, I know you were not a big fan of Frank Lampard coming back to coach at Chelsea, but also don't disrespect him, man, 'cause that's your club legend as well. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I definitely agree when you phrase it like that. But in the case of Lampard, man, this guy was there 2 stints, right? Yeah, I think 2 stints.
Mm.
And yeah, you bought a boat since, mate. It's time to get your ass out of there. Like, fuck you doing, really? Like at that point, like, come on, like, like
He
let's
wasn't
say
as
you,
bad as
huh?
not as bad as Amram, not as bad as Amram though. At least he got you guys into the top four with that young team.
Uh, but no, I mean, even in Amron's defense, I think did he even bring any of his players or any? No, right? Like,
You just bought Dorgu.
right, like it's he's pretty much dealing with like, like legit. I think he's dealing with a mess that was started before he even got there, and yeah, like I think it's just so far gone. Like if I was, I think I probably would have finished off my season at what is it, Sporting,
Morning, yeah.
and maybe came in after, right? Because
Yeah.
he had a good thing going with Sporting.
Yeah.
I think beating Man City, right? They were looking sharp. Like they looked like they could have qualified to the next round with ease, the way they were playing,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, now he decided to bite on something that now seems like he can't chew on, right? So we'll have to see how that plays. But
Uh,
yeah.
we got one more matchup on Monday, Forest with versus Ipswich. I mean, you guys think Ipswich stands any chance? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, Laurent, do you think Ipswich stand a chance against Forest? Your mighty Forest, your second team.
That's crazy. Apparently, Liverpool is my second team. Not
Dude,
like,
you
Yeah, I
got
was gonna say
multiple
Mehrdad,
second teams,
get it right.
bro.
listen, man. I just in Forest's case, right? I respect the good underdog, right? They're having a decent season. It's always good to me when you're seeing new clubs like that. Uh, yeah, like I told you guys, man. It's Premier League, right? This isn't Liga where it's always PSG this, PSG that, right? You're seeing a team like that perform. Yeah, you gotta show support, man. Even as I'm a Chelsea fan. I would love to see Chelsea in Nottingham Forest's place currently, right? But it's not the case. So that team has performed up to this point, right? So it's like, yeah, man, like good for them. And no, I think they're gonna get the W against Ipswich.
The
Yeah.
matchups are already set. City are facing Bournemouth. That's going to be a huge matchup for them because like that's the only way for them to salvage the season. I think they're going to lock down top four. Fulham, they're on a hot streak. They take on Palace, who's also on a hot streak, but God knows how
Mm-hmm.
long Mateta's going to be out. So that might be a little bit of that might, open the door for Nketiah to come in there and show what he's got. The only championship team, Preston, face a tough task against Villa, um, which, again, as a Premier League side fighting in the Champions League with the roster that they have, they should win. Um, Brighton, they're waiting the winner of Forest and Ipswich. But the real talking point before we move on from the FA Cup is like when you look at the draw, like how we went out against Manchester United when they were down to 10 men, couldn't even score in the extra time. Like just makes you wonder, like another chance lost at winning a trophy, another trophyless season. It's abysmal.
All right, but let's be honest. Let's say you guys beat Manchester United and you play that game today. What would the results really have been? And
I
like,
think
serious
I
question.
think if I went to PK, I would have given us a chance.
Mm.
I think I would have given us a chance, to be honest with you. I don't know, CJ, am I wrong? Because it would have been at the
Against Fulham,
Emirates. Yeah, it would have been at the Emirates.
I mean, I would have said yes, but we lost to United on PKs at home at the Emirates.
Yeah.
So. I don't know how confident I would have been.
Yeah. Let's change gears. Let's step away from the Premier League. Let's kind of go around Europe a little bit. Big game in the Serie A, top of the table, Inter versus Napoli. Um,
That was a fire game.
it
Like
was a huge game.
that felt like a
Yeah,
Um,
final. Like, like
yeah,
yeah,
Inter sitting on
yeah.
58 points, Napoli on 57, Atalanta on 55.
Hmm.
Um, they drew 1-1. I mean, the Italian teams right now they're fighting for the Champions League spots because all of them are out, and that's going to affect their coefficient aside from Inter. So
Hmm.
their coefficient for next year might get reduced from 4 teams to 3 teams. So it's gonna be uphill battle. But man, what a game! What a game!
you guys see the standings in Serie A at the
Yeah,
moment?
Yeah,
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 yeah. It's crazy.
yeah.
Juve in fifth place is closer to the top of the league than Arsenal is to Liverpool. Like
Yep,
that gap
Yeah.
between Juve and Inter is only 9 points.
yep.
Mm.
Even
You know?
Bologna.
Yeah. Like the gap in the Premier, yeah, there's about five, six teams at the top of the table who are kind of scrapping it out. And technically, again, like I said, if we were considered in a title race and we're now double digits behind Liverpool, Juve would be considered in a title race in Serie A again because Inter is on 58 points. Juve's got 49 points. I mean, right now Juve is probably just fighting to get into the Champions League spot, but they're not even far off top spot if we're considering
Well,
points differences and what considered a title race is. So they're not that far off. But yeah, it's tight over there.
yeah. Um, on this area, Matteo
Utegi.
Retegui from Atalanta, 21 goals on the year. I know he's been linked to Arsenal. Marcus Thuram, he's a huge Thierry Henry fan. He's been linked to Arsenal. He's on 13 goals. I think Lautaro Martinez is out of contract this year. He has 10 goals. There's a lot of talent there. So it's going to be interesting. Off season for us. Real Betis upset Madrid. That's a pivotal game for them. Um, the Isco with the winner, an ex-Real Madrid
Mm.
player, and the way he celebrated makes you like it really makes you wonder like, did these players like not forget not remember where they came from, who spoon-fed them, who gave them the chance? Like, how do you
Apparently, he
celebrate?
apologized for celebrating after.
Yeah, but like,
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. No way.
yeah, La
Laurent,
Liga.
how do you feel about that? I feel like you being the spicy character that you are, like, how do you feel about a former player of a former club, like, celebrating against their old team?
Honestly, to me, it's all about context. It's all about context. Like that whole, oh, never bite the hand that feeds you. But yeah, if that hand is feeding you with, like disres or like they disrespect you after, or right, or they feed you like, in a way to kind of like hold something over you. You know what I'm talking about. Like
Like an
someone's giving you,
Adebayor?
yeah, yeah, or something like that. But yeah, no, I think at that point you kind of have the right to like, like play with a chip on your shoulder, and yeah, man. Well, yeah.
Madrid 3 points out of top spot. Barcelona, Atletico Madrid is on 56 points, a point out from top. Looks like a three-headed race. And I don't know, maybe this game, Real Madrid had one eye on the Atletico draw midweek in the Champions League, which is going to be huge, not just for the context of Champions League, but also for the league, right? Like if they start dropping points, um, yeah. But a huge shout out to the GOAT, the only GOAT in La Liga right now, Anthony.
Let's get it.
Oh shoot. You guys heard what Emran said about him? What the reporter asked him about why you think Anthony's performing in La Liga. He's like, "Oh, I don't know, maybe it's the physicality." Like, way to take a shot at your own player. Like, I get it. Like Anthony's tiny, but like, dude, he played phenomenal in Ajax. How does he go from being a renowned winger to coming to United and being so crap? Makes you wonder what United does to players. Bayern Munich, they're running away with it. I think it's a lock. I think they can change their focus to Champions League. They won 3-1 against Stuttgart. Um, but do you guys think there's pressure on company to deliver not just the league, but to deliver maybe a European trophy this year?
Definitely pressure on the European trophy side, for sure. Um, but in terms of like,
He's 8 points ahead in the
hmm
league, and they're facing Leverkusen twice.
mm, yeah. I mean, I know with German football, especially Bayern, there's more emphasis on them winning the Bundesliga than
Hmm.
anything else. I remember when was it Julian Nagelsmann
Yep.
when they sacked him. To me, that was one of the most like weirdest sacks of like in terms of like managerial history, right? Like the guy I think was on course to winning 3 trophies that year, right? And then as soon as they got rid of him, things started to go like completely downhill. And yeah, but apparently I think it's because he wasn't focused too much on the Bundesliga or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And on last one, PSG. They just breeze past Lille 4-1. They're on a hot streak and they're facing your boys, Liverpool. Do you think they're gonna upset Liverpool?
no, like I said,
That was fast. Geez, man, breathe for a second.
You
Think
really
about
don't?
it for.
You PSG is on fire. You don't think they're gonna like at
yeah, on
Parc de
fire,
France?
on fire with playing with what? Yeah, they're playing with a bunch of like little kids, bro. This is a kids league. Yeah,
Oh, this guy is
it's
disrespecting the French, man.
yeah. To me like, and that to me is also the difference between a Bayern, which
Can
same thing. Bayern in the Bundesliga at some point was like a farmers league, but Bayern and PSG it's a different caliber.
may
Like
I may
Bayern is
I
known to, yeah, go on, go on.
no sorry, may I just kind of read you their last couple matches, if I may? So yesterday 4-1 against Lille. In the quarterfinal, they won Stadio Birchen 7-0. They beat Lyon last Sunday 3-2. They beat Brest 7-0. They beat Toulouse 1-0. They beat Brest again in Champions League 3-0. They beat Monaco 4-1. They beat Le Mans 2-0. They beat Brest 5-2. Stuttgart 4-1. Their last loss, let me keep going back. They haven't lost since Bayern, and that was November 26th.
Can I speak for Laurent for a second? I know what he's gonna say.
I was gonna see. I was gonna see something. Just wait. Can I? I'll say what
Yeah,
I got
go,
to say,
go,
and then all right.
go, go.
Now, can I read you Liverpool's current run of form? Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Newcastle 2-0. Man City 2-0. Villa 2-2. Wolves 2-1. Everton draw 2-2. Lost to Plymouth. Tottenham 4-0. Right. 2-0 Bournemouth. Lost to PSV 3-2. Ipswich 4-1. Right. Lille 2-1. But in terms of the quality of the opposition, to me, I think that's the most important thing that you got to look at, right? It's very easy, in the
But you
French
can only
league.
beat who's in front of you, right?
Yeah, but and that's my point. And that's my point. The true test for PSG is not Ligue 1. It has never been Ligue 1. Let's put that out the window. The
But
true test for these guys has always been the European competition, and that's where time and time again they always fall short.
so
Always.
those games that you were talking about for Liverpool, the Wolves
hmm
game, it was
hmm
indecisive. They should have drawn. Like Wolves deserved more out of that game. The Everton game, it was madness. Like that game I don't even count because it's the last game at the Everton Stadium. That game is like a imagine it's like the last game at the Emirates. Like that game's just gonna be crazy. or the last
Mm,
game at White Hart Lane. So I don't count that because there's so much emotion into it. The Plymouth game, like it was a full rotation. I don't think Arne Slot took that seriously. Same thing with the PSV game. Um, but like they haven't they're winning games, and that's what you look in a champion team. But like they
mhm.
haven't looked convincing. The only convincing game that I can really say is the Man City and the Newcastle. The other games they haven't been convincing. That's why it's Parc de France. That's my only worry. If I was a Liverpool fan, like if it was at Anfield, I don't. I think it's gonna be a breeze. But Parc de France, I don't know.
But when you say convincing, it's like in that game that's 7-0. What was the opposition? It was like from what tier of the French of of
No, but
France
they
was
did that
that?
to Brest. No, but they did that to Brest too. Brest is like, anyways.
Yeah, but now CJ, you're gonna say something?
I literally was gonna say that, but as he was reading out those results,
Hmm.
I was gonna say that your immediate response is gonna be like, look at the caliber of the opposition. Like
Yeah,
for
of course. I mean, it's like that's like you now understand. It looks good. It looks really good, right? Like you're beating the team, right? But it's like, can you truly say that you've been tested? That you've been challenged to in getting these results. And even when you're watching these games, come on, man. It's like I've seen these games where um a Liverpool, a Man City, they go on and they win like 4-0, but you can sense that even that 4-0, like all those goals, they've had to, like they've taken it, right? But this, it's like you're legit to them, it's like training practice at this point, right? And that's I don't know why you're laughing. I don't know why, but I'll tell you this much. Until PSG like proves themselves in the Champions League, my point was then they will always be a League One team. And
No, fair
and I
enough.
mean, all right,
Fair
but
enough.
no, we'll see. We'll see next week, right?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's only a couple sleeps away.
Mhm.
Um, we tease this section in episode 4. We're gonna break down Arsenal versus PSV. Um, Arsenal's traveling to PSV for the first leg. Second leg will be at the Emirates. Um, both teams are pretty sound defensively. So it's going to really come down to set pieces. But what we also are going to do is kind of break down Arsenal's attack and see how we can fix it, or quote unquote fix it with the hands that we have dealt. Apparently Martinelli should be on his way back for maybe the second leg, but most likely the first game in April. That's like more of a realistic, and same thing with Saka. So um, thoughts, CJ? Thoughts on the PSV game and how we can fix Arsenal's attack?
yeah, I think based on what we have available at the moment, we've discussed amongst the three of us, and also you hear it going on in Arsenal circles at the moment, different fan channels, different conversations about what we can do to fix um, our lineup at the moment and how we can potentially progress in the Champions League. Because let's be honest, that's all we're fighting for at the moment. We literally have drawn blanks in the last two games. We lost 1-0 at home to West Ham, and we drew 0-0 at Forest. So, we're not scoring goals. So something needs to change, right? Like the definition of insanity, they say, right, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And we know Arteta can be stubborn sometimes, but even I'd be curious to know if he will be willing to change things up at this moment in time, especially in the Champions League, because again, this is our last chance at some sort of success this season. So I think what we're doing and what we want to present to you viewers is an alternative approach as to how Arsenal can be successful this season or progress in the Champions League and have a decent run and what that looks like. So um, first, let's look at the opposition that we have immediately. Sorry, and that's PSV. That's who we have next. And I just want to kind of quickly go through their last few results. So let's go as recent as February 1st. So they drew 3-3 in their league against Nice, NEC. They won 2-0 against Feyenoord on February 5th. They drew 1-1 against Willem on February 8th in their league. Lost 2-1 to Juventus on February 11th in the Champions League. Drew 2-2 against Utrecht on February 15th. Then they beat Juve 3-1 in the return leg of the Champions League, February 19th. They lost 2-1 in their league recently, February 26th, to Go Ahead Eagles. And then they played Go Ahead Eagles again yesterday and lost 3-2 in their domestic league. And then their next game is against us, Tuesday, March 4th, at their ground. So a personnel change is something that I've been thinking about, something that I've been looking at that Arsenal need to consider. But I wouldn't, funny enough, I would not consider it for PSV. I would stick with the same formation for PSV simply because, again, there's no disrespect here with the opposition, but let's be real, let's be honest. PSV is a tie that we should be getting through, regardless of the personnel available. I still think that we have enough to get through PSV over 2 legs, where we do not have to drastically change our team and our personnel in our lineup. You know, as long as we keep it tight at their ground on Tuesday, the return leg is at the Emirates. That's massive for us. Like considering that the second leg is at our ground, I think we will have just enough to get through the game with our current personnel, with our current setup of the 4-3-3. I think we have enough to play that way still and get past PSV. Simply because I think Arteta is not going to want to change the lineup. I think he will be reluctant to change it, to be honest with you. So I think if we can keep it this way for this tie, do so. And I would think he would be justified in keeping the personnel and keeping the formation the same strictly for the PSV tie, because I do think that we can get through and have enough. Now, my quick breakdown of what we should do going forward is going to be beyond the PSV tie. And I'm speaking for if we get past PSV, what happens next when we play either one of the Madrid teams and somehow miraculously get through that, if we play a semifinal potentially against Liverpool or PSG if they're the ones that progress, because we are on that side of the bracket, and those are opposition that we will undoubtedly have to change our formation up against, because we cannot continue to play this 4-3-3 system with the lack of firepower in our front three against either Madrid team, against a PSV rejuvenated, against Liverpool. So beyond PSV tie, you know, let's say we make it that far and we get to one of the Madrid teams. Now we're gonna have to do in what I would call a 3-5-2 formation, or a 5, essentially how you want to look at it, a 5-3-2 formation. And how that looks is, let's start with the 3-5-2. And how that looks is essentially, I'm looking at the Italian teams. Inter played this way. Both Inter and Napoli played this way. I was just watching their game yesterday as they played each other, and they both played that similar formation, the 3-5-2. Now, again, you can tweak it however you want. 3 at the back can turn to 5 at the back when you pull 2 wing backs back. That becomes a 5 when you're defending. But when you're going forward, the fullbacks, right? That right wing back and left wing back, that's a lot of work for them, right? Your wing backs, that's going to be where most of your dynamic running comes from. And the reason why Italian teams and managers have been so successful in doing this, right, is because it gives you a little bit of structure. And Antonio Conte did this when he came to the Premier League, and Laurent will be very familiar with this, our resident Chelsea fan, who, you know, when Conte came to the Premier League and won the league in 2017, he played very structurally with those wing backs. You know, that 3 at the back with your 2 wing backs, you got your midfield, and then you got your forward line, right? The wing backs are very important in a system like this, because, like I said, they're the ones that are going to do a lot of your running. You know, Antonio Conte used Victor Moses on the right wing back, and Alonso, I believe it was Marco Alonso on as a left wing back. Laurent, are you familiar? Do you remember that under Conte? He had a lot of joy and a lot of success playing that way, using his wing backs. I watched it again yesterday with Inter, as I said. You know, DeMarco for Inter on the left wing back position, and Dumfries, who plays right wing back for them. DeMarco scored a brilliant free kick goal yesterday for Inter.
He's so good.
He's nasty.
Sorry,
Yeah, he's nasty.
He's so good. Sorry.
Yeah. No, there's no problem.
Good.
Systems like that, right? Systems like that rely heavily. Your wing backs, like I said, a DeMarco in that case, or Dumfries on the right hand side for Inter, they have to be quality. Right? If they're not up to par, then the whole thing essentially falls apart. If you don't have the wing backs to play in that system, and I'm just gonna send something quickly to you guys in the group chat so you can see this as I'm talking. I just dropped it in there now. That's Napoli's. I'm gonna more so refer to Inter's. I'm gonna send Inter's lineup right now. So the Inter's 3-5-2 formation is the second image I just dropped in the group chat. The first one was Napoli's. The second one was Inter's. For the viewers watching, I'm just gonna quickly show you a little bit what that looks like. And as we get more advanced with our technology, we will be able to eventually put these on a board for you guys to see. This is essentially the lineup that we're looking at, right? So you got your keeper at the bottom, you got your back three, the midfield five with the two wing backs and then the two up top. Okay, so quickly, I just want to explain something that the way Arsenal can use this to progress past, let's say it's Real Madrid. Okay, let's say it's Real Madrid that Arsenal play in the quarterfinals. Okay, that back three, and as you guys can see, our right where Bisek is on if we're looking at Inter's lineup, the 3-5-2, where Bisek is, that's going to be Timber. So Timber is your right center back, right? Obviously, we got Ryan in goal. That's non-negotiable. Timber, your right center back. I have Saliba in the center of that back three, and I have Gabriel Magalhaes the left of the back three, where Bastoni is. Okay. Now your five across the middle. First of all, let's start with our left wing back. Now, my left wing back, where DeMarco is in that position, my left wing back is either a Kieran Tierney or a Calafiori, and I'll explain why in a minute. My right wing back, where Dumfries is on the other side, is going to be a Ben White. Okay. My middle three, across that middle section of that five, you have Declan Rice, you have Thomas Partey, and you have Martin Odegaard. Okay, and then you have a front two of Marino and Trossard, or Marino and Ethan Nwaneri. Now, let me explain why I think this is a potentially successful lineup for us. Okay. First and foremost, the wingbacks. I'm going to speak to why. I just finished talking about why that's important, and the wingbacks would be very important in a system like this. Now, I have Ben White as a right wingback, but also this is very much dependent for me on the fitness of a Gabriel Martinelli or a Saka. And obviously, I'm expecting that Saka is still further away. I don't want to rely on him and say that he'll be fit for either tie, especially fit to play 90 minutes, because on an injury that Saka's coming off of, a torn hamstring, that's a lot of work and a lot of running for the guy. I don't see him coming in and starting on that right away, so I'm not going to include him in this. Martinelli has a very outside chance to be fit for this tie if we get to a quarterfinal. He could do that right wing back role. If it's not Martinelli, I'm going with that Ben White, because Ben White gives us that running up and down that right flank. When Timber plays right back, he's quality as a defender, especially, mind you. But in terms of overlapping, we've missed Ben White so much on that right-hand side, and I think it's affected Odegaard's performance, to be honest with you. So Ben White as that right wing back, Ben White will get up and down the flanks, no problem. He gives you that defensive work rate, but he can also get forward and join in on the play. Okay. On the other side, Tierney or Calafiori. Let's start with Calafiori as that option. Now, Calafiori as our left wing back, he's great because, I mean, what we've seen, the best of Calafiori so far this season is defensively. He's been a little bit lapsed in concentration and shaky defensively, but we've seen the best of him going forward. You know, and as a wing back, he can get forward. He even showed as recent as last game against Forest when he hit the post that he's got a offensive threat. So he can do that exact same job on that left side, you know, getting up and down the wing. When we're defending, he'll drop back in a back five, so that three becomes a five. Same thing with Ben White on the right side. That three will become a five when we're defending. Because let's be honest, I'm sure Real Madrid is going to have majority of the ball, and Arteta is going to have to be adaptable in that sense, where you're going to have to allow, based on our personnel and what we don't have at the moment. I know Arteta is big on possession and big on controlling territory, but in a game like this against a Madrid team, we're going to have to go back to Arteta's FA Cup winning team, where we played that Man City in a semifinal, where we played Chelsea in a final, and we were okay to concede possession because of the personnel that Arteta didn't have at the time. He showed that we can play that back three, back five, and we can, you know, defend properly and see out the game. We're going to have to do that again in this tie, in my opinion. And so playing with that back five, again, the fullbacks becomes a back three when we do win the ball and have possession. Our fullbacks need to get forward. Our wingbacks, the Tierneys on the left side or Calafiori, and on the right side, Ben White, need to be able to get forward and join the play when we have the ball. I mentioned Calafiori as that starting left wing back as opposed to Tierney because, I mean, Tierney's leaving the end of the season. I'm not sure if Arteta even favors or fancies him. However, in my opinion, I would love Tierney for this system as well. It's a toss up for me who would start if I'm the manager, because Tierney, I still think Tierney has a lot to contribute to the club.
Oh yeah.
He's literally the definition of a wing back. The way he gets up and down the pitch as well, he can deliver balls into the box. Um, so I would be okay with either one of those. On the right hand side with that right wing back, the reason why I said Martinelli is because Martinelli gives you great work rate as well. He could be a right wing back, and when we need offensive threat going forward, Martinelli can get up and down that right flank as well. So if he's fit, he would be very much suitable for that role, just as much as a Ben White. Okay, quickly touching on the back line, that back three, Timber in the right sided center back slot, but in the right of the back three, I think is perfect. Why? Because Vinny Jr. plays on that side, right? Vinny Jr. is a left winger for Real Madrid. Timber is an amazing one-on-one defender, right? So with a combination of Timber as your right center back and Ben White as your right wing back, the defensive stability on that side to hopefully nullify the threat of a Vinny Jr., I think will come in handy. You want one of your better one-on-one defenders on Vinny's side, let's be real, right? So Vinny coming down that left side, which is our right side defensively, I think between Timber and Ben White, I think that should be, again, there's only so much you can contain a world-class player. But that, if I'm picking outside of Tomiyasu, who's currently injured, if I'm picking anybody in this side to deal with Vinny defensively, I think that's a Timber, because he's, again, like I said, he's a brilliant one-on-one defensively, or even Ben White. Okay. Now at the moment, Mbappe plays in the center of that front trio. And when we sit back as a defensive unit, when we have a back three or a back five, right, the last thing you want to do is give Mbappe space and run in behind, right? And that goes for Vinny, that goes for Rodrigo on the right hand side. Those players thrive in space. I watched the Man City game, and I watched how, especially in the first leg, how they tore City apart with the space that City left in behind for them to run into. If we defend properly the way we defend, there's not going to be any space for an Mbappe or Vinny to run into when we defend in a block, or defend in a certain shape. And the reason why this formation gave me confidence is because we saw it against Man City earlier this year when we went to the Etihad and Michael Oliver sent off Trossard, and we had to defend on that whole second half pretty much with this, obviously with one less man, but we defended in a block of 5-4-1, right? So, and that gave me confidence that we can do it, because, and I saw how we did it against Man City. We're very resolute defensively. We can be. That's why we had to adjust this formation, in my opinion, because right now you have to play to your strengths. When you don't have the offensive weaponry, you play your strengths. We have a million defenders at the moment, fit and available. So we got to play to what we have. And like I said, against Man City, we showed that we can do that. In front of that back three / back five, you have two solid units in Declan Rice and Thomas Partey sitting in front of that back unit. And Thomas Partey and Declan Rice did that brilliantly against Man City at the Etihad when we were down a man in that
It
game at the
almost
Etihad.
worked. It almost worked.
It literally almost
Like
worked.
it almost worked, and that would have saved the season. And to your point, like Mbappe does love coming off the left as well. Him and Vinny switch positions, and the triangle that they create with Bellingham, it typically is on that left side. That's where they start getting into the little triangle play, and then they play
Yeah,
off of each other, and then one of them slides into that center forward area that's vacated, or you see Rodrigo cutting in from the right and emptying that space because everyone travels with those three players. So
yeah,
no, you're bang
yeah,
on.
yeah. And I think that if, in terms of our mid block, right? So obviously, like I said, you have the three at the back, that midfield five across. The two fullbacks become a five when we're defending. Um, Typically, what I would want, if and when we win the ball, another formational change that I had is you have the five at the back, or three, and then you have four across the midfield, and then Odegaard goes higher up to support the front two, right? So it's like a 3-4-3 almost, essentially. Odegaard can become the out and out number 10. So across that middle four, you have, like I said, a Calafiori, Declan Rice, and Thomas Partey as a two. And on the right hand side, you have a Ben White or a Martinelli if he's fit enough. Odegaard can push in to be an out and out literal number 10 behind a front two of Marino and Trossard, for example, or Marino and Ethan Nwaneri. So that's another way you can sort of tweak it. But as long as we have that structure, again, Declan Rice and Thomas Partey, again, I think are also key to this, because it's also about your block in front of
Yeah.
your defensive line. And a block of Declan Rice and Partey in midfield is extremely difficult to get through, because they're both, we've been using Declan Rice a little bit different lately, and he's been more playing a more free role number 8. Now, there's a lot of questions at the moment, I feel like, around whether Declan Rice is an 8, is he a 6? He's not very good going forward. But when Declan Rice plays in his natural number 6 position, or he plays in a two alongside, like we saw at West Ham, the best of him at West Ham was when he was playing in a two beside Souček. And similar here, where he plays alongside a Thomas Partey and they sit as a two, that's very difficult to get through and to break down. And Declan Rice with his legs, when we win the ball, he could also get forward and join the play when we do win it back. Martin Odegaard, sorry, I don't have a problem with him playing in the middle of that three as well, because literally that's how Inter play. They have Barella, they have Kalinobu, and they have Mkhitaryan playing in that middle three of that five. And it works for them brilliantly. Inter's top of the league for a reason. We played Inter recently in the Champions League as well, and we struggled to break them down as they played that formation. So clearly it works for somebody. It's working some way, somehow, and we need to be adaptable in order to get any joy or any success. Because I'm telling you now, if we match Real Madrid toe to toe,
we're gonna get smoked.
4-3-3, it's not even going to be a competition. Our front two does concern me a little bit because when Arteta won the FA Cup in 2020 playing a similar formation, his was a 3-4-3. And just quickly before we wrap this segment up, I just want to quickly give you guys the lineup of what Arteta used in the FA Cup final. I'm going to drop this in the group chat as well. So this was the FA Cup final that he won with. Okay, it was a 3-4-3. So he had Emi Martinez in goal, a back three of Rob Holding, David Luiz, Kieran Tierney. That was our three. Now, and he played four across the middle. Okay, our four was Bellerin as a right wing back, Granit Xhaka and Dani Ceballos the two in the center mid, the two in the middle, and on the left side it was Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who was the left wing back, and then we had a front three. Okay, we had a front three of Pepe, Lacazette, and Aubameyang. The reason why we were able to play that way, a 3-4-3 with a three up front, is because we had the personnel to do so. Lacazette center forward, Aubameyang off the left, Pepe off the right. That worked to a T because the personnel was there for that forward line. At this moment in time, we don't have a front three with pace, because that's the thing. If you're going to play this Real Madrid team and you're going to try and play them on the counterattack, you have to have pace. And that's why I'm saying in this iteration of our formation, that pace and that outlet is going to have to come from the wing backs. We can't play a front three the way Arteta played this front three in a final against Real Madrid, because we simply don't have the same pace. We don't have an Aubameyang, we don't have a Pepe to give us that pace as a forward line. So we're going to have to rely on our wingbacks to get up high up the pitch. It's going to be it would be a lot of work rate for them. But it's needs must at this moment in time, because we don't have that sort of front three at the moment to cause trouble, to cause the pace. So in a two with Marino and, let's say, Trossard, or Marino and Ethan Nwaneri as a two, the idea is there that when we win the ball, one can play off the other. Marino is going to be that sort of hold-up player, that back-to-goal, Olivier Giroud style, Mario and Fellaini style, back-to-goal. When we win the ball, we can give, Marino the ball with his back-to-goal, and then you have a Trossard or an Ethan Nwaneri playing off him as a combination in two, instead of one being isolated. Because if one is isolated, there's no sense in playing, a block of back four, back five, and you have the one forward isolated up top, Marino on his own. By the time Marino gets the ball, he's going to get clamped by four defenders in Real Madrid as soon as he gets it, with no one else around him. So at least if we leave two up there, that should be more than enough, for one to play off the other. Little combinations, we win the ball out of the back, get the ball into Marino early. Marino plays it into Trossard, 1-2 combinations, and then we get our fullbacks, our wingbacks high up the pitch as well to support. And I think this is one of the few things in terms of our Hail Mary approach and how we're going to beat Real Madrid. This is one of the few ways that we can actually do it. We have to show that we're adaptable, and we have to show that we're going to play to our strengths. And at the moment, I think our strengths are defensively. So this is something I think that we would or should heavily consider if we're being creative, if we're being innovative, if we're going to brainstorm on how to get the best of Real Madrid's side. And honestly, even if we beat Real Madrid somehow that way, playing against Liverpool, we would have to play a similar way, in my opinion, because over the course of 2 legs against Liverpool, European nights in the Champions League at Anfield, if we continue to play how we're playing at the moment, a 4-3-3,
we're going to get smoked.
We're going to get stuffed. We're going to get stuffed. Yeah. So we would have to potentially play this way all up until a final if we were to get there. Yeah. And this, in my opinion, is how Arsenal could have success in the Champions League.
Or even now, to be honest with you, because the formation that you're talking about, it might give us, because how Arteta talks about different phases of the game and different moments where sometimes he plays like 44 different combinations or formations in a lineup. Like, man, thinking like, why not just do like a false like a false nine when we have the ball, right? Go like when we're out of possession, go back to to that like 3-5-2, or you can even, drop that forward back.
Mm,
But when you're going into the attacking phase, go into a 3-4-3, but play a false nine with Odegaard being the one that's like the false nine or the number 10, and then split one Yeri and Trossard, and then open up that space. If they step if they stay out wide
mm,
and they're stretching the field, have Calafiori and Ben White actually cutting in. Right. So if you're gonna,
mm,
for example, play one Martinelli when he's back, if he's gonna be the wing back, then you can have him telling him, don't go out wide, just cut inside with Calafiori. So that you're also kind of
mm,
getting the defenders picking and choosing, like, who am I gonna follow? Am I gonna follow Ethan and Trossard going to the outside and stretching the wings, or am I gonna follow the runners coming in just to cause a little bit of madness? And then the other caveat being that you have Odegaard, who's gonna be the number 10 with a false nine. He may not be the hold up play, and you can use Trossard because he's shown that he can hold the ball up. He's very good in tight corners, um, but yeah, no, it really comes the question now to the end of the year is, um, we know the hand that Arteta has been dealt, but you need to adapt. And how are you
mm.
going to adapt with the personnel that you have? You decided that you did not want to let Tyranny go early because they wanted him early. They said they'll take him in January. You decided to keep him because you said that, oh, he's got a lot to play. Okay, here's your chance.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. He's been
Tierney's
coming off the
proven
bench
it.
a lot lately. Yeah,
Yeah, he's proven it. And you put him on. You put him on before Zinchenko. You even put him on before Sterling. So like
yeah.
clearly you see something in there. So I know what you're saying about playing it against Real Madrid, but I'm even looking at right now against PSV over two legs. We got Manchester United in the middle of that too.
Mm,
Like, if we're looking to break down, because we know these teams are going to play that low block, like let's do something different. Maybe throw a wrench in everybody's plan, right? Some people might say, well, maybe he's holding it in the event that we get into a PSV, so there's less tape, so people can't watch it and game plan against it. But like something's got to change because, like you said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different
yeah.
result. So no, you're bang on.
Yeah, I
It
was curious to know what your guys' thoughts on what I said. And just quickly, I'm going to show it again. I managed to drop it in the group chat, but I did write it down for viewers again until we actually get a little board up for you guys to see. This is
Yeah,
what we're
we can post
going
it
with.
on the Instagram after
Okay,
as
so
well
let's
so people
push
can
that.
see. But for those looking, he's got Raya and Net, he's got Timber, Saliba as the back three. We got the five across. We got White, Odegaard, Partey, Rice, either Calafiori or Kieran Tierney, which I would probably go with Calafiori. And then up top, he's got Marino and Trossard, or Ethan. I'd probably want Trossard in there because he'd be very good in those tight corners with that
Yeah,
formation.
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
got a,
yeah.
I got a, I got a few questions.
Mm.
Um, all right, all right. Hope you're ready. Hope you're ready. So, yeah, no, the back three, right? Or sorry, the back five, back three, depending on how you look at it. Um, Obviously, right? I mean, it's like you said, Inter, Italian team's big on using the formation. Uh, One last team that was pretty big in using it. I don't know if you guys recall Morocco during the World Cup, which is funny
So
enough.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think was how they got to where they did. Now, I think what's key, especially with this, there's a few things. Like, there's really a few things to digest, right? Because I know it's very easy to say, right? You put the formation out there, right? Players go here, players go there. But then it's really once it starts to move that formation, right? And that's when you see like either it works or it doesn't. Okay. Now, in Morocco's case, um, I know that for a lot of the games, they were soaking up a lot of pressure, like, which is obviously what happens, right? When you take a player that should be higher up the pitch and you move him back, right? It prevents interceptions near the, like, further up the pitch, for example, right? Like your defense now is pushed back a bit, right? So essentially you allow the opponent to you invite the opponent in, right? Kind of thing, right? If you're going low block. Now, with this, are you expecting Arsenal to then just defend most of the game and then look to pick their chances? Is that like the idea behind this? Or is it something where I'd say more so the Inter Milan? I think when they utilize it, I saw a video on how I forgot what the Milan's coach's name is, but
Inzaghi.
yeah,
Inzaghi, yeah.
um, there's a specific way that he plays his that differs from like the traditional, right? That allows him to build from the back, which allows him to not soak up as much pressure as another team that's simply playing, right? A 5-3-3, like, right? So there's different mechanics that you can utilize, right? Using the formation. So that's my first question is, what are you expecting? Are you expecting to soak up pressure indefinitely and then pick your chances more like the Morocco? Or is this I guess more like an Inter Milan where you're expecting a good build-up play out of the back, right? So we're not gonna see the stats at the end of the game and see 70% possession Real Madrid, 30% Arsenal, right? You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah. And it's honestly, I'm glad you asked that question. That's a great question. And I really
Mm,
wanted to bring up that point in saying um, Inter clearly do it and they have success doing it in the top of the league. Now, they play this way regardless of, they'll play like the mid to low table teams in the league and still play
mm,
this way. And it doesn't mean it's defensive. That's just how they get the best out of what they have. They still will dominate possession. They'll still create chances. They still score plenty of goals. If we look up, I don't have it on hand, but you can see how many goals they score still playing this way in Serie A. So, brilliant question. It doesn't mean that you're going to throw in the white flag and concede, complete possession and just defend for 90 minutes. That's not exactly how this works at all. It's more so a matter of playing to your strengths, knowing what you have. You can still play on the front foot with this formation when you have the
Hmm.
ball, as Inter do. And I think it's to Mehrdad's point that at first I had said, maybe we don't need to adjust the personnel to play this way against PSV because we can still get through PSV playing the way we're currently playing. But to Mehrdad's point, why can't we not play this way with the 3-5-2 or the back 5-3-2 against the PSV and exploit that even against them? Because I still expect to have majority of the possession against the PSV, but we can still have majority of the possession against a PSV playing with this formation. This formation doesn't necessarily have to mean that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be completely defensive for 90 minutes, and I'm not gonna play on the front foot. I'm not going to play positive football. It's pretty much like I said, adapting to your strengths and weaknesses and what you currently have at this moment. And obviously, what we have at this moment in time is more of a defensive solidity and strength than we do offensively. But we can use, like I said, the wing backs are very important in a system like this because that's where a lot of your offensive creativity is going to come from, as we see with Inter and as we've seen with Conte. When Antonio Conte came to the Premier League in 2017 and won the league, when he adapted to that formation, they were not completely defensive minded at all. Like I said,
No.
when you look at that system, their fullbacks they would fly high up the pitch every time Chelsea had the ball, and going forward they looked great. Obviously they had a bit better players in the final third to help them with that, like Hazard and Diego Costa at the time, and so on and so forth. But the point still stands in that you can play this way, and you can still play positive football when you get your wing backs high up the pitch, when you still have your midfielders, because we still have good enough midfielders in that setup to maintain possession of the ball. Everybody, and here's the good thing about Arsenal and our team at the moment. Arteta's done, and credit to him, he's done well enough to build a team that pretty much almost everybody in possession, including our goalkeeper, can keep the ball with the ball at their feet. So that when we get it, you do not have to boot it 40 yards down the pitch and dump and chase. Everybody on the pitch that we have can knock ball, can play with the ball at their feet. So even when we win it, we can still play in and around teams, right? We can still pat when we win the ball against a Real Madrid. We can play the ball through the lines to a Marino, to a Martin Odegaard, to whoever, as opposed to just dumping it forward and hoping that something sticks. Because, like I said, anyways, we in this iteration of the formation that I've selected, we don't have the forward line to dump and chase. That when we win the ball, all right, we're just gonna send a diagonal ball into the channels for a Pepe or an Aubameyang to run onto because we don't have that kind of pace. We're gonna have to play a way where when we win the ball, we're not just going to boot it long and hope for the best. We're going to win the ball and we're going to keep it. Now we're going to try and play. And our center forward and Marino is going to have to drop in and we're going to have to play the ball in through him. And he's going to have to bring our midfielders into play. And then we get up the pitch together. The fullbacks get flying up the pitch together. The other forward helps and joins in. We're going to have to still play. We're still going to have to play on the ground as opposed to playing in the air and playing over the top. We're gonna have to play on the ground. We're gonna have to play through teams still, but we still have the personnel to do it because of what's out there on the pitch. You know, we're not. This is not a Stoke City. Respectfully, this is not a Stoke City setup where we have just pure defenders on the pitch who, you know, can't even knock ball when we get on it. No, when we win the ball, we're still going to try and play because we still have the players with the ability on the ball to get forward, to progress the ball up the pitch when we have it. So maybe a long-winded answer. I'm not sure if that completely answers your question. I hope it does.
Hmm.
It's like a
Okay, so
positional
yeah.
overload, right? Like when you're playing with the players that we have and the style of play that they are, like we can get
Mhm.
positional overload in many parts of
Yeah,
the field. And with the fact that Martin Odegaard is typically the one doing the pressing, you
yeah.
know, how Arteta talks about different phases of the game and different formations, this formation allows us to get those positional overloads to overwhelm a PSV. I think overwhelm would be a very strong word to use against Madrid, but we have seen them against, you know, Real Betis. And I'm confident in saying, even with this frontline iteration that Arsenal have, I think we're a better team than Real Betis, and we can take something away from that game. And if we do get past PSV, because again, PSV is the first game that we need to focus on, we can try to overload certain parts of the area and take advantage, right? Because a lot of the back four, they're coming back from injury as well, right? So there is an opportunity there, and if they play Tchouaméni a center back, or you know they're bringing Luka Modric, as much of a skillful player that he is, and I think he can still wiggle his way out of type situations. He still has no pace, so that if we have that positional overload, and we overload the ball on the side that they have it, we may be able to kind of control the pace and control the ball over the top into Vinny or into Mbappe to try to keep the game in front of us. So no, I think it's to answer your question, Laurent, no, it's not going to be like a defensive mindset that we're going to be defending. It's going to be more of a front forward and just picking and choosing the phases of the game and when to press,
Hmm.
when to sit, when to take on pressure, and when to apply that pressure.
And I'll say this much, just a quick, sorry, Laurent, before you come back in, just to quickly add on that, there's a reason why in my setup that I've kind of gone for in being a little bit innovative and brainstorming, um, there's a reason why I've set something else specifically in the way that I have. And if you look at the formation that I sent you guys, right, and I'll just show the viewers one more time, the position where Çalhanoğlu is, the middle of that, here, the middle of that five, Thomas Partey would be in the dead center of that five, right? And then where Barella is, Barella would be on the right of that, and that would be Martin Odegaard. And then obviously to the right of Barella is Dumfries, right? So in Barella's position would be a Martin Odegaard, and in Dumfries' position would be a Ben White. There's a reason for that. It's not just out of, oh, let me just put players wherever they're going to go. There's a reason why Odegaard would play on the right of that middle, right? The Çalhanoğlu position in the middle would be Thomas Partey, right? But on the right it would be Odegaard, and then you have Ben White, and that's done for a reason, right? Because Ben White and Odegaard they combine really really well. So if I'm playing that way, that allows certain patterns of play to continue to maintain, right? Patterns of play being Odegaard and Ben White combined in the system that we play now. So who's to say that if we play this way, players specifically playing in those specific positions, when we win the ball, we're still going to be able to combine the same way, right? Ben White and Odegaard playing on the right side together will still allow them that when we win the ball, they can still do their combination plays. We can still have the overloads, as Mehrdad was talking about. The same thing on the other side, where Mkhitaryan's position, right? Mkhitaryan's position and then DeMarco's position on the left side of that five, right? Declan Rice being on the left of the middle, that's where he plays now, anyways, in this
Yeah.
current formation that we play with. So Declan Rice being on the left side of that will allow him to still continue to do things on the left hand side, running up and down those channels, right? Combining with our left wing back, which is what he does now in this formation when he combines with the left back, right? What Declan Rice tends to do when he plays on the left is when let's say our left back inverts and gets a high up the pitch, Declan Rice will drop into left back to replace him, right? So it's still familiarizing certain players in positions that they're used to, even with a slight tactical adjustment and a little bit of a slight tactical twist. Like, there's still method behind it. There's still positional play that's going to be familiar to certain players playing this way. there's a reason behind it as opposed to just throwing players in anywhere, right? Positions of play on the pitch that the players are already familiar with is what will help keep a little bit of that familiarity so that it's not complete system change, if that makes sense.
Yep. Bang on.
Okay. So okay, my next question would have been because I know, right? You guys praise your defense for being world class. Okay. Um, Now I know that in terms of like defending, right? There's no issues there. It's the scoring that's really right. Like in terms of even the personnel issue. Could you guys defend with four in the back against Real Madrid? Is what I'm asking instead of five.
Do we defend with four instead of five?
Yeah, instead of five. Like, would you feel
Good.
confident enough? Like, okay. So if that's the case, um, offensively, like if it was I don't know if you can you guys see my screen?
Wow, there's a glare.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, I
glare.
can't see.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
better now.
Okay, it's better now. So I was gonna say, fuck it. Okay. So essentially, because offensively, right? You're aiming for the 3-5-2, and then you even said, well, if you take Odegaard, put him in as a false nine, or you push him up, right? It looks like a
Behind
three.
the two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
behind
you
Yeah.
the two.
slightly
Yeah,
change it and he'd be behind the
yeah,
two. Yeah.
yeah. It's like a 3-4-3 at that point, right? Now,
Yeah.
what about a 4-4-2 defending that, and then that inverts into exactly what you're talking about? You see what I'm saying? So, like, I can see it both ways. Like, you can definitely do it with the win backs, right?
Mm.
But I don't know. Like, I want to get your opinions, both your opinions on this. Where as opposed to having five, you have four, but then you get one guy to push up, and then offensively, it's still exactly what you're looking for. It's just we're not doing five in the back, right? Like, what do you guys think? Like, that
A 4-4-2 essentially what you're saying.
yes, a 4-4-2 off the ball when you're defending, and then when you have the ball and you're looking to attack, right? That guy just pushes up like a wing back, if you want to say, right? And then yeah, then you, yeah, so it'd be like a three. You can even get the 3-4-3. It's just that you're not defending with five at this point. You're just defending with four, right? Um, because and I understand like my and the reason why I'm even is why I'm saying this is one, right? Your defense is we all know like the defense is good. It's not the issue, okay? And at the same time, given the fact too that even with Inter, those teams, and even Morocco, it's like those systems. It took time. You know what I mean? It took time for those teams to develop, right? In Inter's case, I'm assuming it was even from the season before, right? They play like this, and even when the coach first got there, I'm sure he had the whole preseason, right? The whole summer to kind of like drill it into them. Okay. Let's be real. The Champions League games are pretty much right next week. Like everything is pretty much in the like on the horizon for you guys, right? In terms of adaptability, I don't know how quickly you guys would be comfortable with playing with five in the back. Which is why I'm saying something where there's four. You guys are used to that, right? Like, having four center backs. But offensively, I think it'd be much easier, right, to just have one of the players push up, right, in the wing back positions, and then now suddenly, in terms of attack, you're getting what your the formation you drew out, right? The 3-4 could even be
3-5-2.
like a
Mm.
yeah, it can be even be a 3-5-2, or if you guys do decide to go with a 3-4-3.
I think to be
Um,
honest with you, I understand what you're saying, but I think this year
mhm,
with the amount of red cards that we've had and
mhm,
the situation that we have, we've played in that 3-5-2 or 3-5-1,
Bang on.
whatever
yeah,
you want
Spot
to
on.
call it.
mhm,
Yeah.
Um, and again, I keep coming back to the fact that it's multiple phases.
mhm,
And I know not at every single minute of the game we're playing five in the back. There's
mhm,
specific phases of the game that Arteta loves to talk about, and which I agree. There's
mhm,
specific phases and moments of the game which we would drop to a five. And I think the fact that we played so many games a man down, we've had experience playing five in the back and
mhm.
like truly playing five in the back,
Right,
right? Not just having 11 men on and then we're playing a 3-5-2, but it's really not a 3-5-2. It's like a 3-4-3 in attack. And then we drop to a 3-5-2 or we turn into a 4-4-2 in different
Mm-hmm.
phases, right? So that part of it, I have zero concerns about.
Mm.
I have zero concerns about because if Arteta was able to do this with the likes of David Luiz, Rob Holding, Socrates,
Yeah.
and these, no disrespect to any of these players, but like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Hector Bellerin, like we're talking about like
Right.
Ben White, who is also a midfielder. We're talking about Ricardo
Mm-hmm.
Calaferi, who can also play midfield. We're talking about even if Miles Skelly was there, he's a midfielder by trade that converted to a left back, right? We're talking about Declan Rice, who's used to playing there. Thomas Partey, who played in this system or a very similar system at Atletico Madrid,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it, in my opinion, it opens up the space for Trossard to get into those tight corners and to like really drag defenders into uncomfortable areas, not knowing where to go. And it opens up the space for Declan Rice to attack, and then
Hmm.
Calafiori
Hmm.
to make those lateral cuts, or even a Miles Skelly to drive into the box. So, from that adaptation point of view, if that's what your concern is, I don't know if CJ, if you're on the same page as me, I have zero concern, especially with this year that we've had 5 or 6 games with red cards and being a man down. Zero concern.
Mm.
No, that's spot on. That's literally what I was going to say as well. Like we're talking about also professional footballers with high IQ here. Like you literally said he did. He managed to do it in the FA Cup final with, Arteta was barely. He wasn't even in the job long enough at that point. That was his first job. He was only in the job for a few months, and he managed to do, a formation, tactical formation switch that within a few months of him being there already won him the FA Cup with players that he wasn't used to working with already.
Right.
These guys all know Arteta and have been with him now for a year, 2 years or more, so they all know what he's about already. It wouldn't take that long to adjust to because we're talking about good quality high footballers with high footballing IQ. And they played like literally Mehrdad said they played like this. I referenced the game at the Etihad against Man City
Hmm.
earlier this season where we had to play the whole second half this way and stuff. So adaptability wouldn't be an issue at all. In terms of the formation of the 4-4-2 and why could we play that way instead? It's a possibility because you can still have that block, the two blocks of four, right? A back four, and then the midfield four in the front two. It would just require, what players are you going to put in what positions? Because again, it's about personnel. You still have about five defenders on the pitch. So in a 4-4-2, one defender is at least going to have to play in that middle four, right?
Yeah.
Um, when you have these five defenders on the pitch in the 3-5-2, it makes more sense to allow five defenders because you can have two wing backs and then you have your back three. Again, in a
Mm.
4-4-2, again, one of those defenders is going to be in the midfield. So you're kind of moving more parts around a little bit more. It just all depends on how you want to utilize it.
So CJ, what do you predict first leg? PSG, PSV, Arsenal.
I'm going 1-1 first leg.
Laurent.
Hmm. Honestly, I'm feeling good about this one, so I'm gonna go 2-0 Arsenal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna go 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Okay, so we're finally all on the same side of the fence
Well, I said
this time
1-1.
around.
Yeah,
Ah,
he picked the
this
draw.
guy's, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Um, so we got one question from YouTube, and then we're gonna quickly go through the Instagram if we, you know, so from YouTube, from one of our subscribers, Massey F, it's questions. At what point is anyone going to point the finger at the manager? My money is on episode 5, so I guess Massey F is questioning like when are we gonna stop talking about the board and the players and stuff like that and start pointing the finger at Arteta?
Hey, man. Thank you for your comment, boss. I'm likely to be your guy when it comes to talking about the manager because, you know, between the three of us, I have the most to say about the manager, clearly. So I that might be another one for another episode. But I'm more than happy to spend some time talking about Mr. Arteta and his faults, let's say, and things lately. But yeah, man, I agree. Like all jokes aside, I do agree. I'm always one to talk about accountability, and I say Arteta is the luckiest guy in football to be where like I said, a man with no managerial experience previously to get a job at Arsenal is literally like me not studying for I don't know what they call a pilot exam, not studying for an exam to become a pilot, and somebody just giving me a contract offer to be a pilot, and I've never done it before. Like, are you trusting me to fly your plane, and I've never been a pilot before? Like, that's crazy, you know? But yeah, man, like there is a lot to be said for accountability, and I always like to talk about accountability in any line of business. Um, the leader is always accountable. So, in the corporate world that I work in, for example, I work under a team, and if the team is not performing, even though I'm the one who may have screwed up within the team, the manager is the one who is accountable and responsible to talk to the VP or the director, and VP and director, whoever, will go to the manager and say, why is so and so on your team not performing? It's costing your team performance. It's it may not have been the manager who was making errors in their day-to-day duties. It might have been me, but the manager is still accountable because it's under his or her leadership. And it's the same thing for Arteta, which is why I always say he's not excused from any criticism because, you're the manager, man. Again, he was not Unai Emery was only called the head coach. Arteta is the manager. He was given the title of manager, which is beyond a head coach. So you're very much involved in recruitment. You're very much involved in the say of the club and what's going on and who the sporting director is and who you want to work with, and you sign off on the players that you want coming in and out of this door. So he's accountable for a lot as well. So I personally would not be going above Arteta and going directly to the board only to talk about where things are going wrong. Like, Arteta is very much involved in a lot of criticism. So yeah, we can spend some time, I think, talking about maybe during the international break or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Bang on. I think that's such a big topic of discussion. And during the international break, I know Arsenal already said that they're looking at the sporting director, and I don't want to skim over this question because I think
Yeah,
there's so many different parts to it. Um, so international break is March 17th. So when we get a pod out, definitely we're gonna address this. We don't want to skim over it because again, it's a very, very big topic, and I think Laurent will have some big counterpoints as well coming from a Chelsea team under Abramovich that was ruthless. Um, One last thing before we all give our closing thoughts on the Instagram, we had posted a poll on what do you attribute more to success, coaching or players. We did get a bunch of results, but what we're gonna do is kind of take the results, and then for those of you who responded to 50% coaching, 50% players, or none of the above, we encourage you to just kind of comment so that we can have a big discussion about what you think, because again, it's one of those talking points that when you look at teams like Chelsea, when you look at teams like Arsenal, even Man City, um, like if you think it's 50-50 or none of the above, like we love to hear from you, and um, feel free to drop a comment, um, or DM us on Instagram to let us know what your thoughts are, because again, we're all curious. Everyone has their own opinion, but we're all very, very curious. Um, but any closing thoughts from you guys? Big week ahead for Champions League.
Yeah, man, I wish my team was in it. That's all I can say. Like, I mean, fuck's sakes, man.
I really want to be on the same level as CJ and laugh, but hey, at least you fuckers won it.
Yeah, I guess it's that, but nah, nah. To be honest, nah, I can't even think like that. What the fuck? Like that's the past, man.
I know, but
That's the
like
past. Like you can't be
it
thinking
is,
like that. Like,
but like,
nah, nah,
man,
man. Nah, man. Like, yeah, we gotta get into that competition and then win it again, and and then keep winning, man. That's the point. That's right. But yeah, no. But all the rest of the teams, right? Just show some good football. That's and some bangers. Some like like don't fucking tippy toe your way into the 18, and then like yeah, nah, we want to see some classic goals, like things that make us jump out of our seat, right? Too many tapping merchants in the game nowadays. Yeah. So yeah, that's
all
my
right,
closing
CJ.
remarks.
Final words are with you.
yeah, man. I don't have much left to say other than I'm looking forward to the Champions League again. And from an Arsenal perspective, this is where all our eggs are in this basket essentially. So let's see how we do. Let's see if we can change our fortunes a bit, and our Arteta can be a little bit innovative, I should say, and do something different. So let's see. Looking forward to it.
All right, everyone. As always, thank you. Hit that subscribe button, give us a like, give us a rating. Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. Episode 6 coming out Friday morning after all the Champions League games. Thank you as always. See you guys Friday.
Later, y'all.
Peace.